Hi folks, today I'm going to show you how to motorize the Lone Ranger Constitution Lego train set. Now the basic principle behind this motorization is that I've put the motorized unit in the coal wagon and the infrared receiver in the engine. And many of my ideas have been borrowed from other people online, so thanks very much for that. Now, one of the first things to notice is that I've actually built a whole new roof with a hole in it so that the infrared receiver can easily receive the signal from the remote control. The instructions for building this will be found right at the end of this video. So the infrared transmitter is located in the main train itself. Very few modifications are needed to fit that. There's simply a 1x4 brick and 1x4 plate so that it's at the right height to fit into the roof. And so that fits just one row back from the front face of the infrared unit, and that fits nicely within the compartment of the train engine, and then the roof, the newly rebuilt roof, sits nice on top of that, and no further modifications needed to the train. You'll see that the wires now tuck nicely through the gap underneath. So, like many people before me, I have chosen to motorize the coal wagon, and the battery pack also sits within there. I've tried to make use of as many of the original parts as possible and keep the overall look and feel. So the wires are feeding out here through a little black arch piece, and out comes the battery pack. And if you look at that, you'll see I've tried to hide the light grey colours with dark grey pieces and the coal pieces so that it's not so noticeable within the wagon itself. So the coal wagon has an extended shell, the sides built over a standard motorized unit, and there are a few modifications required to the base to start fitting the main parts on top, and the video is just showing you here how that's done. There's some sloping parts built at the far end. Some 1x4 plates built onto a 2x4 plate and some 45-degree inverted slopes. And once you put that on, that brings the motorized base up to the right level, start building the sides. So in more detail, just showing you here how to put the various pieces together. The inverted slope onto the underside of a 2x4 black plate. These are all black pieces. That fits on the little projections at the side opposite where the wires emerge, and then we lock that in place with a couple of 1x4 black plates. And then just to fill out the base with a couple of 1x2 black plates. And then we're ready to put the main assembly on top. The instructions for building this are at the end of this video. We tuck the contacts and the wires inside, and then just push that down onto your leveled out base. Essentially, you'll see from this that I've maintained the color scheme from the original, but there is an extra layer of green bricks. And I just put this 1x4. This is actually a dark, bluish grey piece. And then put the connector that's coming from the infrared receiver, and here's a black arch that allows the wires to feed through but keeps them nicely in place. A 1x4 green brick on top, and here comes the battery pack. So there's nothing particular to fit that in. That just sits in nicely. It's not particularly held down, secured. But what I have done, and there's the wires coming through, you need to organize the wires a bit better later. Now what I've done is I've tried to hide the battery pack a bit better. That's a 1x8 bluish grey plate, 1x2 at the end, and then the coal that came with the original set just fits in on top. Wherever you think's best, but this is how I've done it. And one little piece on top of the contacts as well. So that hides it quite well, and yet you can still get to the on switch relatively easily. And there are also the couple of grill pieces that fit underneath near the wheels, and they go either side. And finally, there were two sloping pieces that came with the original set, and what I've done with those is I've used them to hide the wires. So you need to tuck the wires in a bit better than this, as you'll see later, but you fit them on place. They cover over the space for the wires and look a bit more like the original set. So next we're going to fit the infrared receiver, and it's got that extra bit of black that breaks the bottom to boost it up. Put that into the main compartment, tuck the wires underneath and through the gap, and press that down. That'll be held down in place in a minute when we put the roof on. And next we fix the pre-assembled roof back on. That should secure the infrared receiver and also fit nicely down with the same footprint as the original roof. And what I've done here, this is optional, but put a couple of Technics pegs in the back there, and then there's a 4x4 black plate just to cover that up. That was a suggestion from another video that someone else provided. When you finally tucked all the wires in, this is how it should look, nice and neat. And that's what they look like inside the space next to the battery before you put the black sloping pieces on. And here we go. Here's your final train running around the track. Well, thanks very much for watching, and the instructions are to follow.